Afro Samurai was released on the PlayStation 3 and Xbox 360 on January 27, 2009. The game is based off the popular anime of the same name and was developed by Namco Bandai Games. Before we go any further, we have to address the soundtrack. Because let's face it, the music is way better than it has any right to be. But that's because it was produced by RZA of Wu-Tang. The beats perfectly intertwine with the story, action, and even the menus. The voice acting is also on point because all the main characters are voiced by the same voice actors as the anime. Most notably, Samuel L. Jackson plays both Afro Samurai and Ninja. The game's visuals are incredible. The team did a really good job of capturing the anime feel. I've constantly found myself being impressed by how well the game has aged, and it's largely due to their choice of art style. You play as Afro Samurai, and he actually plays really well. The controls are simple. The left stick is your movement, and if you click in the left stick, you can dash, and A is jump. The camera, on the other hand, it almost feels like a boss you're forced to fight throughout the entire game. There are times you can't even tell what's going on and you just have to hope for the best. Sometimes the camera is fixed and sometimes it follows behind Afro and allows you to control it with the right stick. It's not always clear why they chose one or the other, but it can create for some frustrating and interesting scenarios that have you praying you don't die out of the camera's view. The combat mechanics are also pretty straightforward. You have X for your light attack, Y for heavy attack, and B is kick. You can block by pressing the right trigger, and if you block at the right time, you can parry enemies. This will put them in a stagger state that allows you to hold forward and press jump to climb on top of them. Once you're on top of them, you can press an attack button for a finishing move. As you perform combos throughout the game, you have a meter that fills up. Now the game doesn't have any heads-up display, so you'll have to pay attention to the amulet that's hanging from Afro. If it's glowing black, then you have no focus. But as the meter fills up, it begins to glow white. Now you can hold the left bumper to slow down time. While time is slowed, your light attack does a horizontal slice and your heavy attack does a vertical slice. Basically, you'll hold down the button, and if you let go at the right time, it'll kill any enemy it touches. Well, any regular enemy. Pressing the kick button during slowdown will perform a sweep attack. This can be super useful against enemies who just love to block your regular attacks because it'll not only sweep them, but it also launches them into the air where you can now do one of the slice attacks and kill them instantly. You'll use the slowdown mechanic to fight enemies along the way, but every once in a while, you'll play a little mini game. The game is called Body Part Poker. The goal is to target limbs or their head to create a poker hand of 3 cards. It's a fun little added challenge during the game's altercation that unlocks achievements. Oh yeah, also during the slowdown time, you can use your horizontal slash to catch bullets midair, and then release them to throw them back at the enemies who are trying to shoot you. Yeah, there's enemies with guns. It can be really annoying sometimes when you're trying to fight a bunch of enemies and also being shot, so you kind of have to prioritize who you want to take out first. As you play, you unlock new combos, and it's important to use the combos rather than just mash. And don't get me wrong, mashing will work, but it's far more effective to use the built-in combos. The only other super important thing to note is that there are teddy bears throughout the levels. If you cut these, they'll refill Afro's health. Since there's no heads-up display, you'll have to pay attention to Afro. You can get an idea of your health because as Afro takes damage, he'll start turning red. The darker red he is, the closer he is to death. Level design is generic in the sense that the game is leading you down a hallway for the sake of storytelling, but each scene is beautiful. Well, maybe not all of them. Sometimes there will be branching paths you'll have to cross through multiple times. It's not often, but when it does occur, the junctions don't feel distinct enough. This caused me to repeatedly head down the wrong direction and sometimes not even notice another path that was required for me to progress. Luckily, the designers seemed to realize this might be an issue and gave you sort of a compass. If you ever feel like you're not sure which direction to head, you can press down on the D-pad, and a ninja named Ninja will show up to point you in the right direction. And the lines of dialogue from this character are entertaining to say the least. Throughout the game, you have small puzzle sections. I don't even know if you'd call them puzzles. They basically boil down to you killing a bunch of enemies and then cutting a rope. Given the game is only about 5 to 7 hours long, it never really weighs on you. Really, the game is fun from beginning to end. The last main thing I have to address is the platforming. It's passable, but not great. The game does a good job of making sure you land where you need to, if you start your jump where they want you to. If you're slightly off, most likely you're gonna fall. After about an hour or so, I started to understand where they wanted me to attempt any given platform sequence, but there were still times where I felt like I did everything right and just couldn't stick the landing. Overall, Afro Samurai is incredibly entertaining from beginning to end. I love that the designers chose to keep the screen free of any information. It causes the game to feel really cinematic and keeps you in the action at all times. Is the game perfect? Definitely not. But with Samuel L. Jackson voicing not only Afro, but also Ninja, the dialogue alone will keep you entertained throughout. Also, the story is interesting enough to make you want to keep playing to find out what's going to happen. The game for sure has shortcomings, but it's not enough for me to turn people away from at least trying the game once. Like, just beat it. It's not that long. The art is incredible, the sound design is one of the best on the console, and really, if you haven't played this game yet, just give it a shot, or don't. I'm not your real dad. And if you have played this game, I would love to hear your opinion on it. If you've made it this far, thank you so much for hanging out with me. This has been my review of the first game that I played for the Xbox 360 challenge. This is game 1 of too many. Thank you for hanging out, and I'll see you next time.